Daenerys was tired. Her people were starving. Her dragons were still small, and her army was almost nothing. They had crossed the Red Waste, lost many friends, and now stood in Korth, a rich city with doors closed tight. No one gave them much, except one man, Xaro Xhoan Daxos. He smiled with gold in his teeth and promises in his mouth. He said he loved her, said he could give her everything: ships, men, food, power, a throne. He knelt in front of her and offered a ring made of jewels. Daenerys had never seen before. At first she said no, but that night she watched her people eat dry bread in silence. She saw one girl faint from heat and hunger. She looked at her dragons, who were growing slower, tired, and thin. Then she looked at Ser Jorah. He said nothing. He only watched, her eyes full of worry, and then she said yes. The wedding was quick. No songs, no dances, just silence and fear behind fake smiles. Daxos held her hand and whispered sweet lies. "Now you're safe, my queen." He gave her a key, a long silver one. He said it was to his vault, where he kept all his treasures. "Now they are yours too," he told her. She forced a smile, but her heart beat strange. Later, in the dark room after the wedding, he leaned close and whispered again, "You are mine now, Daenerys. And so are your dragons." She turned her head. Did she hear that right? The next day, she saw changes. Daxos gave her people rooms, clean food, better clothes. They smiled again. She was called Queen of Korth in the markets. Children ran beside her laughing. But not Jorah. He stayed back, quiet. His eyes never stopped watching. He warned her. "Men like him," Jorah said. "They don't love. They want." She told him to stop, told him she had made her choice. But deep inside, she wasn't sure. That night, Daenerys walked alone to the vault. She held the silver key Daxos gave her. She placed it inside the lock, heart shaking. She turned. Nothing happened. She tried again. Still, the vault stayed shut. Behind her, soft footsteps. She turned, and Daxos stood there, calm, smiling. "Some doors," he said, "are not meant to open." Daenerys looked at the vault, then at him. The silence between them was heavy. Was it all a lie? Before she could speak, he turned and walked away, his long robe dragging behind him. Daenerys stood there, hand still on the key. And in that moment, she knew something was wrong. From that night, Daenerys started to feel like a guest in her own life. Every morning, Daxos would leave without telling her where he was going. He sat in council meetings without her. He signed trade deals in her name, but never asked her thoughts. When she asked him, he would smile and say, "My queen needs rest, not stress." At first, it felt like care, but slowly it started to feel like control. Jorah saw it too. He walked beside her less now. She asked why, and he said, "Because you are not free anymore, Khaleesi." His words cut her, but maybe he was right. One afternoon, she noticed something strange. Her dragons, who once flew freely, were no longer near her. They were always surrounded by Daxos's guards. She asked one of them why. He said, "Orders, my queen. Lord Daxos wants them safe." Safe? Or locked? She tried to go near them, but the guards stepped between her and the dragons. She stepped back, confused, angry. These were her children, not his. Later that day, she found Daxos drinking wine with merchants, laughing, his hand on another woman's back. When he saw her, he acted as if nothing was wrong. She asked him in private, "Why can't I see my dragons?" He looked at her slowly and said, "Because they are more valuable than you understand. They need protection, from thieves, and from you, if needed." Her mouth dropped open. "What do you mean?" But he didn't answer. He left the room. That night Jorah came to her chambers. He was not smiling. "You married a mask, Daenerys," he said, "and now the real face is showing." She sat in silence. Her heart ached. Her head was heavy. Was this the same girl who once walked fire and came out with dragons? She felt small. She stood, walked to the vault again. Her fingers shook as she placed the key in the lock one more time. Still nothing. She banged the door. Nothing. Not even a sound inside. It was a lie. A hollow vault, just like his promises. As she leaned her head against the cold metal, she heard a soft voice behind her, a woman, old and broken, dressed in rags. "You won't find gold in that tomb," the woman said. "Only silence." Daenerys turned to her. "What do you know?" "I know who he is. I cleaned his floors when he still begged for coins. He became rich on lies. Like the one he told you." Daenerys looked at her. The woman stepped closer. "But if you want to be queen again, I know a secret way in. A way out. But it will cost. You." Daenerys frowned. "What cost?" The woman only smiled. "Hook." And then she said, "You will lose something. Or someone. That is the price of taking back power." Daenerys waited until night. She took the secret path the old woman showed. It was dark, tight, and smelled of rot. Rats ran beside her feet, but she didn't stop. Her feet hurt, her heart raced, but she moved. She had to know the truth. At the end of the tunnel, she reached a quiet chamber under Daxos's house. She looked up and saw iron steps leading to a large door, the vault. She found it from the inside. She climbed slowly, opened the small service hatch, and peeked through. Empty. No gold, no silver, no treasure. Nothing. Her heart dropped. She pushed the door and stepped inside the giant vault. Her breath echoed. Just stone walls and silence. A lie. A giant empty box. The riches he promised were dust. Suddenly, she heard a laugh. Behind her, she turned. Daxos stood there with guards. "Well," he said, "you found my little secret." Daenerys looked at him with wide eyes. "Why?" Daxos smiled, slow and cold. "Because I needed the dragons. And a queen beside me made it easier." She shook her head. "You said you loved me." "I love power," he said. "And you were my ladder." The guards moved forward. She stepped back. "You won't win," she said, voice strong now. He laughed. "But I already did." Then he gave the order. "Take her." The guards grabbed her arms. She kicked, fought, screamed. One of them hit her on the side of the head. Pain. Then black. She woke up hours later in a cold stone room. A prison. Alone. She tried to stand. Her head spun. Her wrists hurt. A small window showed the sky. Morning. Then she heard a voice outside the door. Two men talking. "Jorah Mormont has been banished," one said. "Lord Daxos ordered him thrown from the gates." "Good," the other replied. "He was dangerous." Daenerys felt her heart twist. Jorah. Gone? She leaned back against the wall. Her dragons were missing. Her friend was gone. Her crown was fake. Was this the end? She closed her eyes. Then she heard a whisper. From the shadows. "Khaleesi." She looked up. A small girl stood by the corner. Wall. Dirty. Skinny. Eyes full of fire. "I can help you," the girl said. "Who are you?" "No one," the girl replied. "But I know where your dragon sleeps." Daenerys stared at her. "Where?" The girl walked closer. "In a temple, guarded by men with black eyes. He cries every night." Daenerys held her breath. "Can you take me there?" "Yes," the girl said, "but not for free." Daenerys narrowed her eyes. "What do you want?" The girl's face turned hard. "My brother was killed by Daxos. I want his heart burned." Daenerys stood up slowly. Then, we fight together. Hook. And the girl smiled. Then you must be ready, Khaleesi, because to take back fire, someone must walk through it. Daenerys followed the girl through the tunnels under Korth. No one saw them, no guards, no servants, just rats, shadows, and silence. The girl said her name was Lyra. Small hands, fast feet, sharp eyes. She moved like smoke. They passed through old catacombs, half-flooded basements, and broken brick walls. Daenerys didn't speak much. Her mind burned with anger, with regret, with a growing fire. She had lost too much, but she would not lose her dragons. Finally, Lyra stopped outside a broken temple. It leaned sideways, forgotten. A few guards with dark eyes stood at the front, not Korth guards, foreign, silent. Daenerys watched them closely. "They don't talk," Lyra whispered. "Only kill." Inside, a sound, soft, sad, almost like crying. It was him, one of the dragons. Daenerys stepped back. Her body shook. "I have to get him out." Lyra shook her head. "Not now. You need help. And power." "From who?" Lyra pointed to a small house down the street. "She waits for you there." Daenerys walked alone, slowly, toward the house. The door was already open. Inside sat an old woman. Her eyes were white, her hands warm. She smiled before Daenerys spoke. "I saw you in my fire," she said. Daenerys sat down. "I need to take back my dragons. My name, my crown." The old woman nodded. "Then you must take back your fire." She pulled out a bowl of ash and blood, whispered words in a tongue Daenerys didn't know. Then she said, "You were born in fire. You must walk in it again." Daenerys frowned. "What does that mean?" The woman handed her a piece of cloth. "Burn this and say his name." "Whose?" "Daxos." Daenerys looked down. Then she whispered, "Not yet. I need to save my dragon first." The woman nodded. "Then take this," she said. It was a small vial, red liquid. "Pour it into fire. Your dragon will know you." Daenerys took it. Left. Back in the tunnel, Lyra waited. "Are you ready?" she asked. "No," Daenerys said, "but I'm going anyway." They returned to the temple. At night, the guards grew lazy. Daenerys poured the red liquid on a small fire near the wall. The flames changed, bright, loud, strange. Inside, the dragon roared. Then, boom, the wall cracked. The beast broke free, wings wide, fire blasting. The guards screamed. Some burned, some ran. Daenerys stood there, the dragon between her and the world. She whispered, "I'm your mother. Come to me." And he did. He landed near her, gently. His eyes met hers. The bond returned. Lyra smiled. "You did it." But Daenerys shook her head. "Not yet. There are 2 more." She climbed on the dragon's back. Lyra stared, wide-eyed. "Where are we going?" Daenerys looked toward the palace. "To take the others. To burn the lies." Hook. And Lyra asked, "Who will you burn first?" Daenerys whispered, "The man who called himself my husband." The night was loud with fear. After freeing one dragon, Daenerys hid in the broken parts of Korth, places the rich never walked, places Daxos forgot. There, she found whispers, men and women who once followed her, now hiding, scared. Some still believed. Some had given up. Daenerys stood before them, not as a queen in fine clothes, but as a woman with fire behind her. "I was fooled," she said, "but I'm not finished." She told them about the vault, about the dragons, about Daxos's lies. Many stared in silence. Then one man stepped forward, Grey Mere, a former guard of hers. "I thought you left us," he said. She nodded. "I did. But now I've come back." He looked at her dragon. Then he bowed his head. Others followed. That night, in secret, they planned. Small army, poor weapons, but strong hearts. Daenerys knew she needed more. She wrote a message. Simple words. "Come back. I was wrong. I need you." She sent it with a street boy who could run faster than the wind. It was for Jorah. 3 nights passed. Then he returned, dirty, tired, but alive. He didn't speak, just looked at her. She walked to him. "I'm sorry," he nodded. "I told you. He was a mask." Daenerys smiled, just a little. "Then help me rip it off." He agreed. Together they found another problem. One of her old fighters, Resnar, was now working with Daxos. He knew her plans. He knew her people. She wanted to kill him. But Jorah said, "No, let him live. Use him." So they captured Resnar and offered him a deal. "You spy for us," Daenerys said, "or I feed you to my dragon." He agreed, fast. Now Daenerys knew Daxos' steps, knew where he slept, where the dragons were locked. Every hour she grew stronger, but something dark also grew inside her. She visited the old priestess again. "I'm ready," she said. The woman stared at her, silent. "You must understand," she said slowly, "fire gives, but fire also takes." "What will it take from me?" "You." Priestess didn't answer, only lit a candle. That night, Daenerys stood by a rooftop with Jorah beside her. The palace lights glowed far away. The last 2 dragons were somewhere inside. She looked at Jorah. "Tomorrow, we take everything back." Jorah didn't smile. "What? If it costs us everything?" Daenerys turned her eyes to the sky. "Then let it." Hook. Jorah pulled something from his coat, a small letter. He handed it to her. She opened it. Read it. Her hand froze. It was a letter from King Robert, offering gold for her death, and the man who gave her name was Jorah Mormont. She looked at him, silent, hurt, burning inside. Daenerys stared at the letter in her hand. Her name. A price, a reward promised for her death. And below it, the words, "Brought to us by Sir Jorah Mormont." She didn't speak. Jorah stood in front of her, quiet like a man who had already been judged. "I gave your name long ago," he said. "Before I knew you. Before I believed in you." Daenerys felt her chest grow tight. "You betrayed me." He nodded. "Yes." Tears sat at the edge of her eyes, but none fell. "I trusted you more than anyone." "I know," he whispered. For a moment, she looked away. The fire in her heart burned hot. She could order her dragon to end him right there, but she didn't. She turned back. "Why did you come back?" "Because I wanted to make it right," he said. "Because even if you burn me, I still choose you." The silence between them was heavy, like a storm waiting. Then she turned. "Come. We have a war to win. I'll deal with you after." He followed her, but the distance between them was now wide. The next day, Daxos sent a message, a peace offer. He wrote, "Come home, my queen. All is forgiven. Let us rule together." Daenerys laughed when she read it. "He still thinks I'm his." Jorah said, "Maybe he knows you're close. He wants to trick you again." But something inside her paused. What if he was trying to buy time? What if he planned something bigger? She met with her fighters that night. "He wants to meet me tomorrow at the palace gate." "Alone," she said. "No," Lyra shouted. "It's a trap." "I know," Daenerys said, "but I'll still go." The next morning, she rode on her dragon. To the gate, Daxos stood waiting, wearing his richest robe. He smiled when he saw her. "You came," he said. "Good." She stayed on her dragon, silent. "You're my wife. This war, why fight it?" You locked me in a room, took my dragons, lied about your vault." He smiled again. "Details. You're still alive, aren't you?" Daenerys looked down and said, "So is the fire." Behind her, the sky darkened. Jorah, Lyra, and the small army marched from the east. People of the street, slaves, forgotten guards, all ready. Daxos looked around. Then his smile faded. He stepped back, fast, but too late. The gates burst open. A fight began. Fire and steel, screams and dust. Daenerys flew above, calling out to her dragons. One answered, then the other. They roared. From the palace roof, trying to break their chains, Daenerys landed near them. Jorah and Lyra covered her. She threw the same red liquid into a fire. Flames danced. Chains melted, and her dragons were free again. All three. Together. She turned back toward the throne room. Daxos was running. Daenerys followed, fire behind her. Hook. He slipped, fell, and looked back, his eyes begging. She stood over him. "No more lies," she said, and raised her hand. Daxos fell to his knees. His rich robe was torn, his jewels scattered on the palace floor. His face was pale, shaking. "Please, Daenerys," he begged. "We can rule together. You don't have to do this." She looked down at him. This man, who tricked her, locked her away, tried to steal her dragons, he still thought his words had power. Daenerys didn't speak. Instead, she stepped back and called softly in Valyrian. The dragons understood. The biggest one opened its mouth. Fire lit its throat. Daxos screamed, but before the flames reached him, Daenerys raised her hand. "Wait!" The dragon stopped, mouth still glowing. She leaned down, close to Daxos. "You took from me. You lied. You used me." He nodded fast, shaking. "Yes, but I can fix it. I know where your enemies are. I know where the gold is." She stared into his eyes. "Where is the third dragon's chain? The one that won't break." Daxos blinked, then smiled slowly. "I'll show you. Just let me live." She stood up. "Show me." He took her through a broken hallway, past bloodied guards, past burning curtains, into a deep chamber below the palace. There it was, a heavy chain, locked into the stone wall. One of her dragons, weak, wounded, still tied by it. She stepped forward, whispered again. The dragon looked at her, growled, then, slowly, bowed his head. She touched the lock. Still hot. Daxos stepped closer behind her. Then, suddenly, he grabbed her arm, tried to pull her back. "Give me the dragons," he hissed. Daenerys didn't even turn. She simply whispered one word. "Dracarys." Fire burst behind her. Daxos didn't even have time to scream. When the smoke cleared, he was gone, burnt to ash. Nothing left. The dragon roared, loud and strong. Daenerys broke the chain with her sword. All three dragons were free now. Outside, the people of Korth watched the skies. 3 dragons flew above. The queen was not dead. She had returned, and this time, on fire. The street children danced. The old woman who warned her watched from a rooftop, nodding. Jorah stood beside her in the palace yard, watching the smoke rise. "You've won," he said. Daenerys looked at him. "No, I took back what was mine. That's not the same." He nodded. Quiet. Inside the throne room, the people who served Daxos now knelt before her. "You are Queen of Korth now," one man said. She looked at the throne. Tall, gold, soft cushions. She walked toward it, then stopped. She turned to her dragons and whispered, "Burn it." They obeyed. Flames swallowed the throne, turning it into ash. Everyone gasped. Lyra stepped forward. "Why?" Daenerys said. "Because I don't want to sit where liars once ruled. I'll build my own throne, on truth. Hook. Suddenly, a child ran in from the street, breathless. He held a message. Daenerys opened it. Her face changed. She looked up and said, "The fire didn't end. It's spreading." Daenerys read the message in silence. Her hands trembled just slightly. Jorah stepped closer. "What is it?" She didn't look up. Her voice was low. "There's a rebellion. In the East Market. People fighting each other. They say it's in my name." Lyra frowned. "But we just won Korth. Why would they fight now?" Daenerys looked out the palace window. "Because power doesn't bring peace. It brings fear. People now wonder if I will rule them, or burn them." That night, Daenerys walked alone through the streets. The cheers had faded. Now came whispers, warnings. Children pulled away from her path. Merchants hid their goods. She had dragons, and the people had fear. She passed the old priestess's home, but the door was broken. Inside, it smelled like smoke and ash. The woman had burned herself, alone. Only a message remained on the wall. "Fire gives, fire takes." Daenerys closed her eyes. She walked back to the palace. They offered her the royal bedchamber. She refused it. Instead, she slept outside with her dragons. She dreamed. In her dream, she saw Westeros, a land of snow, stone, and steel, a throne of swords, a crowd screaming, fire everywhere. She stood on top of a mountain, alone. Her dragons circled above and below. Ashes. She woke with a start, sweat on her face. Breath short, Jorah sat nearby, watching her. "You had the dream again," he said. She nodded. "I saw a city burning. I don't know if it was mine, or if I burned it myself." Jorah didn't answer. Then he said, "You don't have to become like them. You can choose another way." Daenerys stood up. "I don't know if I have another way. Every time I show mercy, someone uses it against me." Lyra joined them, holding a small scroll. "A man from the north came today. Left this." Daenerys opened it. The words were written by Tyrion Lannister. "If you want Westeros, come now. The throne is weak, but so is your soul. Choose carefully what kind of queen you will become." Daenerys folded the paper. Then she turned to her people. "I don't want to rule Korth. I came here to grow strong. Now I am." They asked her, "What will you do now?" She said, "We sail." They cheered, but not Jorah, not Lyra. They saw something in her eyes. Not joy, not peace, something colder, something burning from deep within. That night, she burned the palace of Daxos to the ground. She didn't leave a single stone standing. She climbed her dragon, looked back only once. Korth glowed behind her, ruins and fire. Hook and a whisper carried in the wind. She was meant to sit the throne, but now she walks the fire. The ship rocked gently on the sea, but Daenerys stood still. Her eyes stared far into the open waters, toward a land she had never seen but had always dreamed of. Westeros. Behind her, Korth was gone, burned, buried. She didn't speak much during the voyage. She barely ate. She spent most of her time with the dragons, alone on the deck, whispering to them in Old Valyrian. Jorah watched from a distance. He wanted to speak, to explain again, but her silence was heavier than any words he could find. One evening, Lyra sat beside her. "You did what you had to do," Lyra said gently. "No," Daenerys replied. "I did what I chose to do. That's worse." Lyra frowned. "Do you regret it?" Daenerys didn't answer, but her hand touched the dragon's warm scales like she was holding on to something. Maybe the last piece of herself. In the nights, the dreams came back. This time, not just fire, but screams. Innocent voices, cities falling, her dragons flying over broken towers, and always she stood alone in those dreams. One morning, Jorah finally spoke. "Your name spreads faster than your ship, Khaleesi. Some say you freed Korth, others say you destroyed it." She turned to him. "Let them say both. Let them fear me if they won't follow me." Jorah looked at her, worry in his eyes. "Do you hear yourself?" "I hear the world, Jorah," she snapped. "It has never shown me kindness. Why should I return it?" He paused. "Because you are not the world. You're Daenerys Stormborn. You were born to break the wheel, not become it." That night the ship passed a small island. Fires burned on the shore. Refugees. War survivors. Daenerys ordered the ship to stop. She flew down with one dragon, landed among them. They cried out, in fear, but she raised her hands. "No fire today," she said. "Only help." She gave them food, medicine, promised them ships would follow. For a moment she saw smiles, children laughing, hope. It reminded her of who she once was. But when she returned to the ship, she found a message waiting from Essos. A city had fallen, a rebellion in her name. People had burned the palace there, saying the Queen of Fire had given the signal. She hadn't, but they thought she did. She looked at the paper for a long time, then dropped it into the sea. "What have I started?" she whispered. Jorah stood behind her. "You started a storm," he said. "Now you have to decide if you want to calm it or become it." Hook, and far in the distance, rising over the water, Daenerys saw land. Westeros. She whispered, "Let them see what I've become." Westeros. The land she had dreamed of. The land that took her family. The land that laughed while she begged, crawled, bled. Now she returned, not as a beggar, not as a bride, but as fire. Her ship reached the rocky shore. Her boots touched Westerosi, soil for the first time. She stood still. The wind wrapped around her like a whisper from ghosts. Jorah and Lyra stepped beside her. "This is where it all begins," Lyra said. "No," Daenerys replied. "This is where it all ends." They set up camp nearby. Quiet, hidden, but word traveled fast. The small folk whispered, "The Dragon Queen has landed." The lords whispered too. But with fear, messages came. Some begged her to visit, others warned her to leave. None offered loyalty, not yet. Then came Tyrion's second letter. "I am at Dragonstone. The throne sits weak, but so do the hearts of men. If you still believe in justice, come. If not, stay away." She held the letter long after reading it, then burned it. Later that night, she walked to a cliffside, dragons behind her. She looked, over the sea. Jorah joined her. "You haven't said what you'll do." She stayed quiet, then said, "I used to want to be loved." He waited. "Now I just want to be remembered." Jorah frowned. "How you're remembered matters." She nodded. "So does how many survive it." He looked at her. "You're changing." She turned to him. "No, Jorah. I already changed. Korth did that. Daxos did that. The lies, the locks, the vault. They took Daenerys the Dreamer. Now only the fire remains." Jorah didn't speak. His eyes were tired, maybe sad. That night Daenerys walked among her dragons. They were bigger now, stronger. Their wings stretched wide, their fire hotter. She touched each one. "You followed me through silence, through chains, through lies." She knelt. "Will you follow me now?" The dragons roared together. The earth trembled. Lyra came running. "There's a ship, a black sail. It carries the lion's flag. Tyrion." He came. Daenerys stood at the shore as his small boat landed. He stepped out, calm, hands raised. "I came to talk, not to fight." Daenerys said nothing. He looked at her dragons. "You've grown stronger," she replied coldly. "Stronger than I ever wanted to be." Tyrion walked slowly toward her. "You can still rule without fire. You can build something better." She shook her head. "Better died back in Korth." He took a breath. "Then why are you here?" She stepped closer, eyes locked with his. To finish what fire started. Hook. Closing line. Tyrion lowered his head. Then, "Gods help us all." And behind them, the dragons rose, as the Queen of Fire stepped forward, toward the throne that once belonged to her blood. Now, waiting for the storm she had become.